Abu Uthman, a seafaring captain of extensive experience, attempts to convince his friend to avoid accompanying him on his upcoming arduous trading journey. Such trips extended to many long months. The friend wouldn't have it, as he wanted to try his luck at international trade with the hope of creating a fortune for himself and his family. Abu Uthman concedes, and the trip now includes an additional inexperienced passenger. Illness befalls the friend a week into the journey. Abu Uthman sympathetically attempts to heal the friend in any way possible. But the crew are now alarmed at the sudden appearance of bad luck. Being the suspicious type, their concern is voiced to their captain. Abu Uthman curtly fends them off. Another week passes and the crew escalate their calls for a resolution. Abu Uthman asks what they propose, and they suggest disembarking the friend at the nearest island where he might afterwards be seen by another ship returning to their homeland. Abu Uthman, recognizing potential mutiny, succumbs to their proposal. An island appears on the horizon and the crew quickly prepare to remove the ill-fated friend off the ship. The friend, barely conscious, recognizes his fate and cries to Abu Uthman.
دمعي تحدر على وجناي همالي واشوف دهري يا ابو عثمان همالي يحق لي لاسكن الوديان همالي ورابع الوحش وادعي مثلهم وحشي واخذ على الراس من رمل الثرى وحشي وعقب ذيك المحبة صرت انا الوحشي واصبحت مفجوع هم اهلي وهمالي.
Hearing these words, Abu Uthman is overcome with guilt and anger at himself. How could he abandon his friend? With all his fury, Abu Uthman commands the crew to return his friend to the ship. The crew acquiesces. This story of Abu Uthman and his friend is mythologized in a famous poem named Dam'i Tahaddar, meaning my falling tears. The origins of the story are found both in southern Iraq and Kuwait in the North Arabian Gulf during the latter half of the 19th century. The autobiographical poetic words by the author and protagonist of the story were documented post facto. Upon his realization that he was being left alone on a remote island, he expressed his cry for help. To reflect his state of being, the friend instinctively used a poetic septet form called Zahiriya, an expression typically characterized by pain, sorrow, suffering, and longing. The structure of the septet was simple. The first 3 verses rhymed, while verses 4 to 6 carried a varying rhyme different than the original 3 verses. The 7th and final verse returned the use of the original rhyme. The intriguing aspect of the septet was the cunning utilization of the same word, but with different meanings, versions, or contexts of the word for each verse ending, consequently guaranteeing rhyme, but with a play on words. The name Zahiriya comes from the creators of the form, the Al-Zuhair family of southern Iraq. This form was first performed by the family members in the mid-18th century and progressed to include many stylistic and structural variations over the next century. Zahiriyas became very popular with the seafaring world of the Arabian Gulf, as these poetic forms exuded strong emotions that were generally shared among the crews of these trading and pearl diving missions. Missions that lasted as long as 6 months at a time. Naturally, with the crews longing for homes and loved ones and being exposed to harsh sea conditions over an extended period of time, Zahiriyas were adopted into the larger musical form of the seafaring society and spread the popularity and importance of this poetic form across societies in the Gulf. These spoken poems evolved to become sung poems, involving singing by the full crew of the ship. Triggered by the Naham, the lead singer, the crew in unison would interweave chorus with vocal instigation to increase the energy levels of the performance. Though usually performed a cappella, some crews began introducing clapping and even percussion instruments to the mix. These songs became standard cadences during basic tasks like getting ready to set sail or ship maintenance, as well as more exhausting tasks such as rowing the oars and the dangerous pearl diving process. Even downtime involved Zahiriyas and were aimed at alleviating the collective soul of the crew suffering from emotional or psychological pains they might have felt at the time. Suffering alone was punishing, but suffering as a collective was a gift that involved empathy, and created a feeling of togetherness that was necessary to elevate the spirits. Zahiriyas are no longer part of our music form. Seafaring music is now on the descent for over the past 80 years. The poetic form is virtually extinct from our literature and education as well. How can so much passion and raw emotion be ignored? Is it because we no longer connect to that feeling of strife? Is life too easy as compared to what it was before? Of course, it's not the same and much easier along the physical domain, but the emotional and psychological challenges remain the same. We mustn't forget these elements of culture that shaped our present. We should recognize and record such important elements that helped form our being, helped us cope and handle the trials that life throws onto our path. Dam'i Tahaddar is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Its words echo the impending demise of the poetic art form as it did that of the protagonist of the story, as if this Zahiriya itself is telling and complaining to Abu Uthman that its days too are numbered.
Tears rain pouring down my cheeks. Oh Abu Uthman, I see my fate filled with burden. Roaming deep in the valleys, I'm the abandoned one. Befriending the demons, becoming one of their own. I will lay myself to rest since there is no one here to bury me. After all the endearment by many, now I am the outcast. Fear overwhelms my thoughts for my family and my fortune.